I fell in love with Beirut from a distance. I heard stories about Lebanese cedars or sandy beaches of the Mediterranean that you can literally roll into from snowy mountain peaks. There were tastings of Lebanese desserts, exhilarating smell of za'atar. When I saw Beirut with my own eyes in January of 2023, I was lost forever. After 10 days, I started seeing the world through different perspectives, reinterpreted biblical stories, and created my own myths. Little did I know that at the end of the same year, Lebanon will come a step closer to be involved in another war, and that the beautiful dreams Lebanon inspired might turn into ashes of memory. The same way they turned for Suhail Bilani, my husband's father, many years ago. Like a normal father, he had dreams of living happily ever after with his family. 15 years of civil war and Israeli occupation split his life into before and after. We are revisiting Sammy's past. It was full of love and hope. He shows me his house. It's a 4-story building that his father built for his family, planning for each son to take a floor. Sammy's flat is on the 3rd level. Now it's a beautiful empty place filled with silence and ghosts. There is neither electricity nor water, and I feel myself like in a frozen dream of sleeping beauty. Every little detail tells me a story of children that were supposed to grow up here, friends that were expected to visit, lovers destined to stay together. They all left. Sammy left the last of all 3 brothers. Probably he loved the place the most. Coffee swing, waterfall, hunting rifles, gates of the saloon. Sammy planned his future here, but didn't have a chance to enjoy it for long. Instead, he tells me, they all slept on the floor of Sammy's hallway, his mom, dad, himself, and his younger brother. This way, away from the shattering glass of exploding windows, they felt safer during missile shellings of Beirut. That happened night after night. We visit a cemetery where Sammy's dad found his final rest. This is also a call from the past. He died from a heart attack few years after all his children left Lebanon. His daughter moved to Canada, his oldest son to New Zealand, his youngest to Dubai, and Sammy to the United States. We prayed Suhail Baba's grave and changed a gravestone. The old one, like the soul of Lebanon itself and the father's heart, was irreparably broken. Oh God, bless his soul and save this country. Oh dear, what a marvel. God bless this land. I can't stop chanting this mantra. The scenery around me is just astonishingly beautiful. I look through the window of Sammy's mom's room. Nohal Hatter is a wonderful 89-year-old lady. All these years she stayed alone, keeping the heart of the home beating. But time has come for her to leave her land as well. She wants me to enjoy Lebanon. And God, don't I do it? Oh dear, what a beauty! I have never seen anything like this. I whisper entering the caves of Jeita, a system of underground grottos that lays in the deep heart of a mountain and stretches for almost 8 kilometers. I feel like I literally entered the caves of Moria. I see magnificent cathedrals in front of me, sparkling crystal stalactites, gleaming black water of a majestic lake. We are in luck. Jeita has 2 levels, and we are fortunate enough to enter both galleries and board a boat that takes us along an underground river. It happens that we are not allowed to take photographs and must keep our phones in a locker. But we learn fast, and when we enter a lower gallery, we smuggle a phone with us. Looks like we are not the only smugglers. Our boatkeeper asks if we have a camera and smiles. I try to resist his pressure of honesty and deny, but he insists. I give up and he lets us take few pictures and even a video. My happiness knows no limits. My happiness has no limits, but its temperature increases and goes to insane when I live on the grounds of Jeita and rise to the skies of Lebanon. We are on the roof of our hotel. Middle Eastern Switzerland, the country of touristic paradise, reminds about its former glory and lifts us to the highest skies of touristic service. Tourists are welcomed here. Tourists are loved. Tourists bring money, fresh dollars and euros that the country desperately needs to survive. In return, Lebanon shows back the greatest hospitality and provides us with unchallenged entertainment. We can sunbathe on our roof, swim, drink, dance, while breathing in the heavenly scenery of Beirut. I gulp breathtaking panoramas of the city that lies below my feet. Only the sun is above me. I think a heaven might look like this. Talking about heaven and heavenly fruits, we go down for breakfast. Typical Lebanese breakfast in a hotel consists of dozens of trays of vegetables, fruits, olives, cheese, nuts, legumes, everything that dietitians praise in a miraculous Mediterranean diet. Olive oil runs in its veins. Aroma of mountain herbs and freshly baked bread fills the air. Fruits explode with juice, and lemon is your second bread. Lebanese cuisine is a cuisine of a blessed land, where people absolutely trust their world and eat everything it offers. Here you enjoy equally delicious meals, either if you simply eat the bread with fresh cheese, fried tenderloins with caramelized onions, or exquisite desserts made with figs and pistachios. A common factor here is delightful beauty of presentation, canopy of colors and smells, variety of tastes and undernotes inspired by the God-given generous nature that intoxicates your senses and fills you with happiness. You can drink a cup of coffee on the top of a mountain overlooking a blooming valley. You can sit under a stream of a waterfall enjoying salad wrapped in a salad leaf. Or you can wake up in the middle of nowhere and feel blessed with freshness of the young world and solitude shared with singing birds. This way, we woke up in a rented guest house in the middle of Shuf Mountains. A homemade breakfast prepared by our host, a sweet Christian lady, was waiting for us on a balcony.
I don't know. It's so wonderful, regardless of electricity cut off at night. We were fine. All this beauty is worth seeing.
Shuf Mountains are a land traditionally inhabited by Druze. Civil war that ravaged the country in 1980s separated people and land they live on according to their religious affiliations. When Druze came to destroy Ramhala, a small Christian village, our Christian hosts had to flee their home to survive. Years passed, and Raimon Yazbek, a renowned Lebanese artist and photographer, reclaimed his ancestral home and turned it into a beautiful surreal guest house, a showcase for his weirdest collection of antique, local specimens and natural artifacts. Just to decorate the ceiling alone, he spent 5 long years, slicing wood branches into thousands of little segments, gluing them one by one together to create a sky of his own intricate world. We spent just one night here, but part of our souls will stay in this weird and beautiful house forever, I guess. Not very far from Ramhala lies the residence of Lebanese president, the Beit Din Palace. To get there, we keep driving through the Shuf Mountains, passing Druze villages. People are mostly poor here in the area. Sometimes you think Their homes are covered in dust and ash. Driving here is like traveling from invisible to magnificent, from misery to luxury. The first gem we meet is Deir al-Qamar, a little Christian village that was first mentioned in 13th century land deeds when Teutonic Order bought this land. Now winter flowers bloom over its centuries-old stone walls. Balconies shine with fancy ceramics, and cheerful red-tiled roofs overlook a green valley. What an ideal picture, I think, just to learn that the village was burned in 1860s during one of the numerous religious wars. It was rebuilt by a decree of Napoleon III and later became a birthplace of a few Maronite presidents. Talking about Maronite presidents, we keep going to their stronghold, Beit ad-Din Palace. If Deir al-Qamar was full of tranquility, Beit ad-Din Palace is simply royal. It was built in the 18th century at the site of Holy Druze shrines. Protected from one side with a mountain, it hangs over a deep cliff from the other and opens a gorgeous view of the valley. For centuries, it was a residence of Ottoman governors and then presidents of Lebanon. Over summer, presidential guests still come here for state visits, and music festivals invite crowds. Tourists visit the palace all year round, and there is a lot to see and admire. The woodwork is truly magnificent. I can't take my eyes off the ceilings, carved from the cedar wood. Marble ornamental hammams are another marvel. Original Byzantine mosaics, excavated from ancient cities, embellish the walls and gardens wherever you go. After exploring Shuf Mountains and Druze heritage, we are heading to the north of Beirut to visit Christian monasteries. Our way lies along the shores of the Mediterranean. When Napoleon III ruled to rebuild Deir al-Qamar, he didn't do it just for the sake of the village's beauty. France guaranteed Lebanese Christians their protection and privileges, access to the best locations, opportunities, education, and consequently the riches of the West. The name of Del Nuria literally means light, and indeed the vibrating Mediterranean light presides everywhere on the grounds of Del Nuria Church, warming souls of visitors. Built from the whitest stone imaginable, it shines in the golden air of happiness and joy of the Mediterranean paradise. There is not a single reminder of harsh religious austerity. Instead, you hear the golden bells of life and the song of the world bathed by the sunlight. Aphrodite might have been living here, floating between azure of the sky and blue of the water. Close by, in the place named Harissa, lives another white lady, a statue of Virgin Mary, patroness of Lebanon. The statue was carved in France and erected on the highest point of Lebanese seashore in 1907. The waters of Juni Bay washed the city under her feet, and the lights of Beirut, like pearls, glisten for her from far below. To get up there and enjoy marvels of God's creation and human genius, we take a cable car, teleferique, another touristic attraction of Lebanon.
As I said, this is Julie. This is the center of the commercial center of the Christian community. And that's why during the war they left a lot of areas, and this area boom became like the most popular. So they had to build and build and build to accommodate people.
Let me just enjoy the views.
And I remember the first time we came here, brought by my mom and dad, we were little kids. So this is at least, I think, 50, 60 years old. And still functioning. Imagine for
is unbelievable joy to float above the Mediterranean Sea. The same joy I feel when I touch a cedar tree, a famous symbol of Lebanon. It grows up here at the height birds only fly, and the one I touch looks very young, just a few hundred years probably. I hope it will stay here forever, a witness to the world for generations of people to come and disappear. Age is nothing in Lebanon. If in Harissa I was touching a young Lebanese cedar, in Baalbek I was propping up the 1,000-year-old stones of the world with my own back. People have lived in this area since 9000 BC. They worship different deities, and one of them was Baal, Phoenician god of sky. Thus the city got its name, Baalbek. Greeks have known it as Heliopolis, the city of the sun, since Alexander the Great took it from Phoenicians. Now, Baalbek is home to the largest temple of Jupiter, home of the oracle, that was ever built in ancient times. The cornerstones at its base are among the largest in the world, some reaching up to 800 tons. Historians still couldn't understand how ancient builders were able to carry them here. As for me, I can just pick up a few pebbles from the ground and put them back where they belong, trying to imagine thousands of years of history passing through Baalbek. The famous pillars of Baalbek live here their own real life. On the posters, they represent an international music festival held in Baalbek every summer. In their own world, they still hold the sky and send their praise to gods. Luciana Pavarotti was singing here. Dancers of Bolshoi Ballet performed at their base. Now it's our turn to worship the ancient past. We climb up the stairs of Bacchus's temple, seeing ourselves as his devotees. And it's humbling. Ages of history look at us from everywhere, and we look at them back, forgetting to breathe. Bacchus, the god of wine, wants us to cheer for him and sends us to a quest for wine. Following Bacchus's legacy, we continue our journey to the winemaking area. Lebanon is one of the oldest winemaking regions in the world, mentioned even in Bible. It produces around 8.5 million bottles of wine yearly. Most wineries are located in the Bekaa Valley, and we are going straight there to the Chateau Kefraya. This chateau is one of the most famous wineries in Lebanon. Its wine won many awards and diplomas, and is imported to Europe, America, Asia, Oceania, and Africa. And indeed, local wine is delicious, full of color, taste, and soul. We drink it sitting on the furniture produced from recycled wine barrels. Lebanese winemakers fill them up with wine only twice. Then, lethally infused by aromas of the past grapes. Oak casks cannot be used for wine, and are turned into stylish chairs, tables, accessories. While enjoying wine and serene sceneries of Kefraya, Sammy suddenly remembers Shtura, a can factory that his father used to own in partnership with his cousins. Luckily, it's in the same area, and we are heading there, taken by the nostalgic memories of Sammy's childhood. As a little boy, he used to run around the factory, everybody's little favorite, playing and sampling jams, pickles, cheeses. The front of the building looks the same as 60 years ago, as Sammy remembers. It could have been mine, he says dreamily, reaching out towards Shtura and blowing
Sammy,
it a kiss.
don't you want to come home?
After that, now when we went to our summer house, oh my God, my heart is like this. Feel it, the best best years of our life. It's between when my dad got that house, I think it was 1965, until the war started 1975. So those 10 years were the best years of our life. Me, my family, my brothers, and everything. We had best days of our life.
Then, 60 years ago, their family had a summer house not far from the factory. The summer house is another call from the past. Brothers, teenager boys, spent their best time over there. They created their own music band, called it Cousins, and played day and night. When I'm trying to have a glimpse of a garden through a wall, a neighbor arrives. He had noticed us from his balcony. After a short hesitation, he asks, "Sammy? Abu Fuad?" This is a surprise. Abu Fuad, a neighbor's little boy who used to play with Sammy 60 years ago, recognized him and, after calling present owners, unlocked the gate, letting us into the garden. Another story from Sammy's past is gaining blood and flesh. His memories become alive with freshness of the green grass, red splashes of sweet winter berries, and hovering semicircular arches of the house. Life here was beautiful, and life here always included a family. Cousins, friends, relatives. Now it's time to catch up. We celebrate reunion, sharing happiness of being together. Bacchus leads our way to the music hall. The music hall of Beirut is something unforgettable. It's a firework of music, dance, and all fun imaginable. Our first wow comes with an aria from the Phantom of the Opera that starts the show. We are offered a table just in front of the stage, drinks, and the voice of the singing girl takes us to heaven. A waiter bends to fill up my glass and whispers to my ear that just a few years ago this girl was serving drinks here the same way as he is doing now. Her talent was obviously noticed. Probably he also dreams of having a talent that will change his life for the better. Opera gives away to Spanish castanets, Italian tarantella, rock music. Audience heats up, happiness engulfs everyone. A curtain closes between the shows, creating a sense of magic. Dancing music fills up the space, giving time for another performer to prepare and making people go crazy. When an old man with a long silver mane and a walking cane comes to the stage, people just go insane. I don't understand what's happening, but energy of music and happiness around swap me along, and in a minute I start dancing together with the crowd. His name is Tony Hanna. His Arabic marches electrified listeners for ages, including old grandmothers of people in the hall. He is a life legend. He is an era that nobody wants to lose. He is the voice of golden days of Lebanon that live in the hearts of every Lebanese man and woman, though lost in the real life. His voice unites everybody around me, and suddenly I understand what strikes me the most in Lebanon. Ability of people to love and cherish life, celebrate it, give it their all, without reservations, all 100% and even more. Failing economy destroyed the middle class in Lebanon. Everybody talks about it, but there is not only the lack of middle class here. There is no mediocrity in emotions as well. You cannot love life half-heartedly. Not in Lebanon. Outside of these walls, people might be fighting for survival, but here, in the hall of music and joy, they cannot divide their souls. They enjoy moments of happiness and forget about the blackness that spoils their life. They forget about the shattered glass of their windows touched by explosions. They forget about their abandoned homes, millions of liras needed to buy milk or bread, missiles occasionally flying over their heads. Here, at the hall, they only have ecstasy of happiness. And I envy these people and join them in their triumph over the life misery, suddenly recognizing these people as a chosen people that all books described, attributing this ability to be reborn from ashes and celebrate life despite anything else as a chosen quality. At the end of the show, there is a surprise waiting for me. Russian songs are flowing under the roof of the music hall, and everybody is happy. After the music hall, I look at Beirut from a different perspective. This house survived a civil war and following occupation and was kept as it is to preserve the memory of the war destruction. You see wounded walls riddled with bullets, damaged studs, empty bones of the windows. Happy people lived there once, full of hopes and perspectives, like my husband's family. Are they still alive? Are they still in Lebanon? Or like many others, they left the country. This is the way Beirut, Middle Eastern oasis, looked like and felt like after 15 years of bloodshed. And even now, the war is not over. Out of the 5 million population of Lebanon, about 2 million are refugees who run away from Nakba in Palestine, civil war in Syria. Refugee camps are stretched out in the south of the country, and it is a world of misery, humiliation and suffering with no end. Now the new war is threatening to explode the area, and it is soul-breaking. In the August of 2020, a seaport explosion destroyed half of the city's center, the best area overlooking Mediterranean Sea. Whoever we've asked, everybody has a story to tell. Somebody was just lucky to leave the bed a minute before it was crushed by the steel and brick of a destroyed building wall. Somebody was simply washing dishes when the window glass exploded in the face, causing injuries. Somebody lost business, somebody lost a family. And with all these individual losses, a dream to rebuild Middle Eastern Switzerland was lost again. It happens every time we heard from people time after time. As soon as we have a hope to rebuild our country, something horrible happens, destroying our dreams. And still, in 3 years after the explosion, Beirut, like magical phoenix, has changed again. Residents cleared up the debris, cleaned up the streets, installed new windows, rebuilt their houses, opened new stores and boutiques, established new promenades and concert venues. Beirut 3 years ago, after the explosion, and Beirut today are two different cities. God bless. This ability to rise from ashes is taught by the land itself. For example, by the land of Byblos, the oldest living city in the world. It was founded 10,000 years ago, was many times destroyed by earthquakes and wars, but always rebuilt and never abandoned by people. People of Byblos were the ones who invented Phoenician alphabet. Egyptian papyrus was imported to Greece through Byblos and got its corresponding name from the name of this city. And even the Bible itself was named after Byblos. Nowadays, Old Byblos, or Jbeil, that's how Lebanese people call it, is one of the most beautiful cities of Lebanon. Its roads are encrusted by beautiful tile work. Streets are soaked in the sunlight and canopy of colors and blooming flowers, even in January. You just want to stay here forever and enjoy slow walks on the streets of Souk, climb observing towers of Crusader nights, discover little shops and restaurants, embrace smells, views, sounds of an ancient city. Every building here looks like a precious gemstone from the past. It could have belonged to Phoenicians, Greeks, Crusaders, Ottomans. You would like to be back here time after time. Christian Maronites and Muslim Shia have lived peacefully in the city of the book. For centuries, they have stayed away from religious confrontations and bloodsheds. And in the beginning of the 20th century, even gave refuge to Armenian orphans surviving Turkish genocide. Next to Byblos, there is another enchanting city of the Mediterranean, Batroun. Its charming streets are so welcoming, full of cozy restaurants occupied by happy tourists drinking local wine. You can stop at the historical miniature church that fits 4 people only. You can smell fish when you come close to a Christmas tree waved from fisherman's net. You can pay a fortune and rent a hugely expensive villa here for a week or 2. Or you can go simple and go fishing with local fishermen. But whatever you do, you feel happy. Even tuk-tuk drivers, local rickshaws speak French and English here, servicing touristic paradise. Our driver takes us to the promenade, where we can see an old wall submerged in the water. It was built by Phoenician seamen thousands of years ago. Here, in Batroun, I discover a new page from the history book, Phoenician. Here in Batroun, I answer the question that interests me the most: who are the ancestors of Lebanese people? And the answer is Phoenicians. They came here first and stayed for thousands of years, creating the main DNA pool of modern Lebanese people. Looking for Phoenician heritage, we go to the south of Lebanon, to the city of Sidon, 6,000 years old. Ancient walls of a fortress built by crusaders at the site of an old Phoenician port wait for us here. We look at the blue strip of the sea through narrow loopholes. This way, defenders of the city used to search waters for the signs of invading fleets. And busy they were, since wars never stopped here. Phoenicians, Babylonians, Egyptians, Assyrians, Persians, Greeks, Romans, Ottomans, Crusaders, Arabs fought here and died here, taking over the city, killing each other, destroying life that belonged to others, and starting their own. We climb ancient walls, touch warm stones, feel that history is whispering us some secrets. Young boys are playing on the walls. For them, it's their own life, even if this place belongs to the whole human civilization. Sunset sheds beautiful light on the walls of an old city, inviting lovers to meet and couples to wed here under ancient spells. Life of Phoenician city of Sidon is continuing. Sidon, Byblos, Batroun, Baalbek, all are the cities mentioned in the old books, an ancient cradle of human civilization. Artifacts discovered in these cities are collected and presented in the Lebanese National Museum, and we cannot ignore it. And here they are, in full view. People have lived in this area since the beginning of the humankind. The first work tools found here belong to an era of 1 million years ago. You can even dismiss few thousand years back and forth, and nobody will notice. Adam himself might have used them. Human remains and terracotta jars tell a story of burial practice, common in Byblos in Neolithic and Chalcolithic periods. The way people came to the world, curled in a fetus position, the same way they left the world, just waiting to be reborn somewhere else. A 30,000-year-old tooth is here on display, a very well preserved bicuspid. Compared to the oldest old in this museum, Roman tombs, Byzantine mosaics, and even Egyptian statues look like newly aged. Nevertheless, seeing an endless row of Phoenician sarcophagi in the basement of the museum is like witnessing something sacred. Immortality silently stares at you from marble faces of the past Phoenician rulers. For thousands of years, they are beyond our life, wars, death, but people still need to protect them, not for them, for ourselves. Here in the basement, the most priceless possessions of the museum were stored and preserved during the Civil War. For many long years, the museum itself was on a demarcation line between armed forces, at the center of fire, and suffered huge losses. Modern sarcophagi of concrete covered ancient sarcophagi and Byzantine mosaics, barricading an entrance to the basement. A lot was saved, a lot was lost. The story of life and loss is the story of Lebanon itself. People came after people, civilizations clashed, generations fought each other, but life survived, teaching us wisdom of cohabitation. We cannot live without this wisdom. There is a tomb of Lebanese Prime Minister Hariri on the central square of Beirut. He tried to unify his country into one nation after the Civil War, and he was assassinated. His resting place lies in the shade of a mosque and a church. Christian crosses and Muslim crescents ascend together to the sky, supported by the ruins of an ancient city that lies beneath. Times, generations, civilizations look at each other without a smile, while people live, love, suffer, and hope for peace, harmony, and happiness.